Okay, so this Wu-Tang versus Death Row debate strikes me as a bit odd and doesn't really make a lot of sense for multiple reasons. Death Row is not a rap group. They were a unit. They were on the same label. They're not like, it's not, you can't have them in the same category as Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang is the greatest group in the history of hip-hop. Debatably with Outkast, those are my choices for the two greatest groups. I would say Outkast is probably the greatest group in hip-hop history, but then the technicality with that is they're a duo. So you can say Outkast is the greatest duo, and Wu-Tang is the greatest group. But to put Wu-Tang against Death Row, which is a label, there's the chemistry is different, the way they work together is different. Wu-Tang has two classic albums as a unit under their belt. Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever, and a string of classic solo releases. I mean, you could consider Method Man Stikal and ODB's Return to the 36 Chambers as classic. They were really solid albums in my opinion, but the classics really begin with Raekwon, Only Built for Cuban Links, GZA, Liquid Swords, Ghostface Killah, Iron Man, and I'll even say Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele. I'm a big fan of Morefish by Ghostface as well. So there's those albums as solo releases are all classic, but Wu-Tang as a group has two legitimate hip-hop classic albums. I mean, there's other groups like Tribe Called Quest, Outkast, Mobb Deep, who have significantly more classic albums. However, those two Wu-Tang albums literally changed the entire sonic tapestry and aesthetic of hip-hop culture. Now, Death Row did the same thing, and I already brought up in my Death Row versus TDE debate all the different classic records from the Death Row catalog. I'll say this, again, from 92 to 96, most dominant run by a label in hip-hop history is what Death Row did, between when they dropped The Chronic and ending with Machiavelli. The most dominant run of any producer in hip-hop history, to me, is the RZA between 93 and 97. That he literally could not miss. It kind of tapered off in 97, but all those aforementioned albums, which are almost exclusively produced by the RZA, culminating in Wu-Tang Forever, which had a lot of production from other producers, but still, his work on that was stellar as well. That right there, an unfuckwittable run by the RZA. So I don't know, like, I don't think that this debate is valid. I don't think that this debate makes sense. Who's the greatest group in West Coast history? I think because BET wanted it to be like a West versus East thing and have, like, yeah, like, it makes sense because there's no real group that makes sense that's had a similar impact to Wu-Tang to that degree. You got to start digging a little deeper in the crates, start looking at the hieroglyphics and crews like that, you know what I mean? But when it comes down to it really, as far as impacting on an industry level as well as a cultural level, this debate, although it kind of makes sense, it really doesn't. So who's a greater group? Wu-Tang, because Death Row is not a group. So that invalidates them and removes them from this discussion regardless. Like, really, you got to have Outkast in this conversation. Ghetto Boys, A Tribe Called Quest. These are the, 3-6 Mafia, Bone Thugs and Harmony. This is who should be in this conversation. This is the real debate. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Lush World, baby. Come on.